Denver Broncos have hired former Saints head coach Sean Payton, baby. We're holding. Ah!
What the hell is pimento cheese?
Tom Brady has announced his retirement from the NFL. For real this time. Come on, kick the field goal, take the points. Win the game.
No, you have to that.
See you later. Welcome to Ruffing the Passer Show, where I talk football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I'm your host, Sam Ruffing, and in this, the 78th episode of Ruffing the Passer, we will be discussing what has become the weirdest rivalry in football that appeared out of nowhere, and it's between the two saddest franchises in the NFL. Well, two of the saddest franchises in the NFL at this current moment. The two franchises that have the longest playoff droughts in the NFL, which makes me even more sad. The Denver Broncos and New York Jets. An unlikely rivalry, despite the fact that they play each other every season, because they're both terrible and always finish in last place. It spawned because before the training camp, Sean Payton, who has been familiarizing himself in the headlines recently, especially calling out the NFL's gambling policy, which he was 100% right on. I have a video on it. It's around here somewhere. Was interviewed by USA Today. I can't remember by who. I deeply apologize. He's been in the reporting business forever. My bad. I don't really pay attention too much to reporters. I do apologize. But he was asked some questions about what went wrong for the Denver Broncos last season and whether or not he can fix it, and there is a lot to unpack here. But let's start off with the first thing he said, which was, he said, Nathaniel Hackett had one of the worst head coaching jobs in NFL history last season. Like, he gave one of the worst performances he's ever seen. I mean, he just did not hold back. And while, sure, it was abrupt and out of nowhere and kind of rude to say, I mean, we were all thinking it. We were all thinking, yeah, that was one of the worst head coaching jobs in NFL history. And Sean Payton just went and said it for us. So, yeah. He was like, the team was undisciplined. They were lazy, sloppy. He called out the fact that the Broncos were 29th in pre-snap penalties, which that's pretty much entirely coaching. A player does just not, be good at pre-snap penalties without good coaching. You have to have some horrendous coaching for that to happen. And, of course, the media is all up in arms about it, although most agree that, he was right. But were Sean Payton's comments out of line? I mean, not only did he call out Nathaniel Hackett for what was obviously one of the worst head coaching jobs in NFL history, which Sean Payton continues further by saying that whether it was Russ or whatever, Sean Payton says you don't just have one of the best quarterbacks in the league go from that to absolutely terrible in one season. Like, that is not Russell Wilson. That is mostly on Nathaniel Hackett. And first of all, I love the fact that he's supporting his quarterback. Good for you, Sean Payton. I mostly agree with him on the fact that Russell Wilson was kind of ruined by Nathaniel Hackett, although I am cautious and worried that it wasn't just Nathaniel Hackett. Russell Wilson's washed. But who knows? Anyways, he also calls out the owner of the Denver Broncos for allowing the team to be bought up in off-season hype with Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson and, they're going to win the division and the Super Bowl. And George Payton for hiring Hackett and bringing in Russ and not putting on any discipline to say, hey, Russ, let's keep the social media down. Let's keep your team out of the building. All that. Sean Payton called him out for allowing such stuff. And first of all, was that out of line? Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, Yeah, I thought it was a little bit out of line. I mean, I don't think anything Sean Payton said was wrong. Like, that was easily one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history last season when you're a head coach who's supposed to be an offensive genius who led Arron Rodgers to back-to-back MVPs, and your offense is the worst in the league, scoring 14.3 points a game. Behind Matt Patricia, who was a defensive coordinator who averaged 16 points a game? Yeah, that deserves some criticism. And yes, the ownership and George Payton did allow way too much to go on with Russell Wilson. But, like, you can say that to the team itself, man. Like, you know, I'm just saying you don't have to go out and call out Nathaniel Hackett. And then, even worse, he called out the New York Jets for being on Hard Knocks and doing the exact same, like being very similar to the Broncos last season, where they traded for a massive quarterback, hired Hackett, and are trying to win the offseason by being on Hard Knocks and, buying into all the hype. Which that was very unnecessary. I don't agree with calling out the Jets. Like, you could have left it just at calling out being a terrible coaching job last season. But to call out the Jets, you don't need to make an unnecessary rival out of a team that's been disrespected for the past 13 years. That is known for the butt fumble. And Arron Rodgers, who's been disrespected. I mean, who's taken a lot of heat over the last season. You didn't need to go there. Because now you just took a team that was just going to be like one of those games that you played against. Obviously, it was going to be more fierce with the Nathaniel Hackett being over there and Arron Rodgers joining, but it wasn't going to be like something personal. I mean, the Jets have a tough schedule, and now by calling them out, if they start off like 1-3, they face in Week 5, they're going to be angry and motivated to kick Sean Payton's butt. And I know Nathaniel Hackett did not capitalize on any form of motivation last season. Like, he had every opportunity to be a win in Seattle or against the Raiders or whatever. And he failed to do that, but that's not there. Neither here nor there. You should not have given the lowly Jets any reason to be mad at the Denver Broncos for when they face off in Week 5. And now when they come into town, in that Week 5 matchup, it's going to be more heated than it needs to be. That was completely and utterly unnecessary. However, I would like to also say that yes, he was right about everything he said. That doesn't mean he was wrong about everything he said. He wasn't correct about everything he said. He just was. I just don't think he should have called out the Jets and whatnot. However, I do appreciate the fact that Sean Payton is willing to take the risk, is willing to stand up and just like take on the heat. Like, hey, I'm calling you out. Come face me. I'll put out my best effort. And you know what? If it succeeds, if he like kicks the Jets' butt and the Broncos are reformed into like a playoff contender, then kudos to you, man. That was a brilliant move if that's the case. If not, we're just going to be even more huge laughingstocks. But let me know what you think of Sean Payton calling out the New York Jets and whether or not that was a good idea. I mean, Sean Payton has already said that he went a little far in the later press conferences, so there's that. But yeah, I don't think you should have made an unnecessary rival out of the Jets. I mean, we already have enough with KC being... Well, I guess we did need a new rivalry since KC apparently doesn't treat us like rivals. Doesn't treat the Broncos like rivals according to, Frank Clark, which is completely and utterly fair. But yeah, speaking of the Jets, Arron Rodgers has made what I can only consider to be one of the best decisions of his career. I mean, just brilliant. Last week, it was announced that Arron Rodgers was taking a $35 million pay cut from his contract to stay for the New York Jets. That is huge. I mean, most quarterbacks you see signing with a new team, they always get traded, and they always get paid. But Arron Rodgers is like, no, I'm not getting paid. And there are a few reasons why this is absolutely amazing. And let's get into them. I was going to think of something to say, but I couldn't. It just slipped my mind. But anyways, why this is so important. Oh, yeah. Why this $35 million pay cut is so huge for the Jets and Arron Rodgers is just it shows he's committed, man. Like, one of my biggest criticisms of Arron Rodgers, which I think my first ever YouTube video was about, I'm pretty sure, I'll have it in the link in the description and the iCards, whatever, was calling out Arron Rodgers for wanting to win more playoff games and go to a Super Bowl and have the roster built around him. But then he wouldn't, but he would say all that and then just take like a bag load of money, and it just didn't make any sense to me. So you want to win more games, so you're going to need more players on your roster who can help you, because football's a team sport. You need to win, and you need those depth players to get to the Super Bowl. And what do you got to do to get those guys? You got to pay them, because obviously great players aren't going to play for cheap. So how are you going to do that? By taking more money from the Packers? I thought you wanted to win, Rodgers. That was what my first video was about. And yeah, that never made sense to me for Arron Rodgers. But he was just traded to the New York Jets, and now he's taking a $35 million pay cut. Which just means he wants to win. Like, he's in the twilight of his career. He's 39. He's been disrespected. He had put up a horrible performance last season after mulling over whether or not he wanted to be traded after signing another massive extension, which kind of proved that he also didn't really seem like he wanted to win. After trading away Davante Adams, and now he takes a pay cut. So now the Jets can sign players like a Dalvin Cook. They can trade for another offensive lineman if they want to and pay him. They can sign some receivers. Brilliant move, man. You know why this is also brilliant? Because unless you're a top quarterback in the NFL, well, I mean, there's an interesting stat, you see. The quarterbacks who make more than Tom Brady since like 2010 have only won 2 Super Bowls. So what that basically means is, if you want to beat Tom Brady or the best quarterback in the league, you have to be really good, or you have to make less than him so you can build a roster to defeat the New Englands and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you want to know those 2 quarterbacks, at least I think the 2 quarterbacks who have only beaten Tom Brady while being paid more than him? Peyton Manning in 2015, and Patrick Mahomes last season. Those are the only 2 quarterbacks who won the Super Bowl in the last 12 to 13 years while making less money than Tom Brady. Arron Rodgers, as great as he is does not have the smartest brain in the game of all time like Peyton Manning, or the best arm of all time in Patrick Mahomes, and is not on their level. He's great, but he's not on their level. And he's finally realizing what so few quarterbacks have realized, and that he needs to take less money if he wants to win. I mean, now that Tom Brady's gone, you know who's the top dog that you need to beat? Patrick Mahomes, who he himself has taken a team-friendly deal, even though he's making $400 million guaranteed or $350 million guaranteed over 10 years. His salary is going to look obsolete in a few years because he signed such a long-term deal. So he'll be having loaded rosters with Travis Kelce's and even better receivers and loaded defense, and obviously the good kicker and Harrison Butker. Arron Rodgers sees that and he's like, dang, I need to compete. And he takes the pay cut and just, he can now get the Dalvin Cooks. He can keep the Garrett Wilson. He can keep the Breece Hall. He could get a tight end. Like maybe in a few years in free agency, he can get a really stud tight end. Maybe they trade for George Kittle if that salary becomes too high with Brock Purdy or something. I don't know. But this is one of the best moves I have seen Arron Rodgers ever make. I love it. And it also scares me because now the Jets could potentially beat the Broncos. That doesn't matter. But another reason this is so unbelievably brilliant is just, it guarantees Arron Rodgers is going to stay there for 2 years. Like, He signed. He has 2 years left on his deal. He took a pay cut. He doesn't want to stick around for just one season, see if it works. No, he's committed now. Like, you know what? We may not sign the most players in free agency this year, but if I take a pay cut, the cap hit won't be as much next season. So we'll have even more cap space to sign even more players, build this roster up, and go for a Super Bowl then. So you're getting Arron Rodgers for at least 2 seasons, and one of the biggest complaints about Arron Rodgers has always been his lack of commitment. I mean, last 3 seasons to Green Bay. Is he going to retire? Who knows. He just went into a darkness retreat to see if he retires. And now he's come out of it. He's gone to the Jets, taken a pay cut, and practically guaranteed he's going to be there for 2 seasons, barring injury. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Genius move by Arron Rodgers. Great move by the Jets. Absolutely love it. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below, because I think that is unbelievably brilliant, as I've said 17,000 times already. I know I should have added this with a Sean Payton rant, but some horrendous news has struck the Denver Broncos training camp. I mean, I don't believe in... I'm starting to try and get away from superstitions, being a superstitious person. Like, you know what? You can say stuff that's bold, or whatever. You can say... like, trying not to worry. It just doesn't matter. I'm trying to be less superstitious. Because I used to be very superstitious. And, Sean Payton, what some people like to think is that by him calling out the Broncos for being one of the worst coaches in the NFL, worst coach in the NFL last season, that got him struck down by the football gods, with Tim Patrick going down yesterday with a torn Achilles. And while I'm starting not to believe in that stuff, it is rather unfortunate. Because now the Denver Broncos are once again faced with an injury bug. Excuse me. And first of all, this is just sad because, Tim Patrick was out the entirety of last season with a torn ACL, and now he's out of the entirety of this season with a torn Achilles. He may have played his last snap as a Bronco. And it's a shame because he was a great receiver. He was the Philip Lindsay of the receiving corps. Philip Lindsay wouldn't fumble the ball. Tim Patrick wouldn't drop the ball. Like we'd get you 80 catches, no drops, and just be solid out there. And I was so hyped to see him play with Sean Payton this season, and a hopefully revamped Russell Wilson. Who knows? But now the season's going to be washed over. He's going to be out for it, and I'm just... It gets even worse as KJ Hamler, a man who was supposed to be the next Tyreek Hill for the Denver Broncos, although that was never going to happen, has been waived by the team after suffering heart palpitations, which thankfully are non-serious. But yeah, that went from a team that had a very steady, solid receiving core with Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, and Courtland Sutton, to now relying on Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, and rookie Marvin Mims, who has looked good in camp, who does appear to be a good speedster. But you may not believe in karma. I may not believe in karma, which I really don't. I don't believe in... I'm not trying not to be superstitious, but man, calling out the Jets and then having this happen is a little unfortunate. What a weird coincidence. And yeah, so that's just sad. I don't know where the Broncos will go from here. Who they'll sign, maybe he could take a flyer on like a Kenny Golladay. I know he wasn't very good in New York, but I don't know. Maybe Sean Payton can figure out something. If it's a cheap contract, get him to work hard. Who knows? There's obviously some veteran receivers you can sign. But man, what a major bummer that Tim Patrick is out for the season, and it may cost the Broncos a little bit. It may cost the Broncos a few games, just because of how reliable he was. So, that stinks. This has been Roughing the Passer, the show that has talked football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football, although not much miscellaneous stuff. I am your host, Sam Ruffing. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends and family, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and hit the bell so you know when all uploads are uploaded. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. See ya.